Hi everyone, I am Sophia Son, the program manager at the Tech Platform, a platform where you will get to learn every day something new on different things. For example, the programming languages or like Java, C++, Python, and the most upcoming like artificial intelligence, machine learning, in which the whole world is depend upon. So it's a best platform to learn something new from the experts without any doubts. So right now we have Mr. Shubham Dumbre with us, who is going to do the session 3 on the programming languages. It is basically the, you can say, the open source. Last he also in the last session he described the open source. Now it's the further of the open source, the programming languages. So I would like to welcome Mr. Shubham Dumbre with us. Hi Shubham, how are you?
I'm fine, Sophia. How are you doing?
I'm just all good. So I think right now this is the third session of you on the languages, the different languages, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So it will be a lengthy, right? Its session will be a good one.
Yes, I am almost trying to cover 26 languages today, just to give an overview. And from the next time, we'll be entering into some of the important ones because we are targeting Azure programming languages.
Okay, so guys, it's the best thing that in 1 hour you are going to learn more languages. So if you guys have any doubts or you want to ask anything or you want him to explain some of the languages in details, he is there to help you out with everything. So right now, let's don't waste the time and let's start the session. So Shubham, right now I'll just share your screen.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, yeah. Shubham, I have shared your screen. So, all the very best for this session, and I hope people will learn something new about you and the languages which you are going to explain.
Sure, Sophia. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get started.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. I know there's a international audience now. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And today we have a very interesting session, and that is on programming languages. And of course, this topic is very vast to cover, but I have tried to probably merge some languages and come up with a good innovative concept. Actually, while researching on this particular topic, I came across a very interesting concept. So I'll just walk you through that. So before entering into that, just let's understand what a programming language actually means. A programming language is a formal language. In simple terms, I could say it is a type of language. It is a form of language in which you are like to conveying your commands to the machine, and probably there are instruction sets, there are algorithms, flowcharts, etc. to be followed, so that whatever dependencies we are considering or whatever constraints we are considering are taken into consideration, and we are probably trying to develop something, either that is a web platform software or it is some cloud-based solution, something like that, that will come up with a meaningful outcome. So that's the formal definition that Wikipedia says, that it is a programming language, is a formal language comprising of set of instructions to produce various kinds of output. So there are many different kinds of output, like some are front-end outputs, some are back-end outputs, some are like for a specific domain output. So there are different outputs. So let's focus on each of those. Now the concept which I came across was like, how about considering A to Z of programming? So this is what I came across in an open source magazine when I was reading it. So I was really happy to see that there can be many languages, and many of these were new to me also. So this session of ours actually gave me the freedom to research on these languages and come up with some meaningful understanding so that I could share it with you all. And I have the A to Z of programming at this point. So as you know, there are 26 alphabets. Similarly, we'll be covering 26 languages. At least we'll be trying to understand what they are, how they are used in different use cases, and what are their actual examples. So let's get started. Yeah. So you know the flow now. It is from A to Z. We start with A. So A is known as ADA. ADA is a language which you will have the definitions here on the left, and their logos on the right. So ADA is language which was like is the first letter of alphabet, and there are many text processing operations, or you could say outcomes, that are being found out using ADA. So it was like, it is not that widely used at this point because it was an old language. But of course, it is an object-oriented language, which is like existing since long. So I suppose it was founded in 1980s. So it has a long history of about 40 years. Next we go to is the language B. Now this is something that we are familiar with because BASIC is a language which we have heard at some points, maybe while studying basics of C and all, we have come across this word BASIC. So VB.NET and all Visual Basic languages, etc., are somewhere or the other influenced with BASIC. And this language, you can see the interface here, is like familiar to us who all are programmers. You would have come across such kind of an interface that is supported by BASIC. So Visual Basic use cases somewhere or the other resonate with this particular point. Next is C programming, that is C. And C, as we know, that there can be C, C++, C#, and many of these languages, but C is something that was like the fundamental of our programming we consider to be C. And there are many books, right, from Balaguruswamy to the Objective-C and all. So C language being the fundamental one from which everything gets started. So there are many options, and it was developed originally in 1972 by some different researchers, and it is a combination of multiple logics, flows, loops, and all. So C, I don't think that I have to elaborate more on C because we all are familiar with C. Then is D. Now Dart. Now Dart is heavily influenced by C++. Now Dart is a language which is an open source language again, as we are covering this open source series. So Dart is one language that probably was developed by Google, and it was later released for everyone under the BSD license. So Dart language is again something that is like similar to C, you could say like a reference from C++, and it has similar controls but has some different use cases. Next is Arlang. Now, Arlang language is an open source language again, which was developed by Ericsson, and it is like released under the Apache license. So Arlang uses for writing script programs like into various languages. We have like you could say functional programming languages. So these functional programming languages can be considered under Arlang. So Arlang gives us the overview to write functional programming languages into different syntaxes and all. Next is Fortran. Yes. Now, this language we have heard where, like previously in 90s and 2000s, we heard like our you could say generations before us had used this word Fortran at the time. So Fortran was less like a compiler that used to have some language, and FoxPro is another keyword that used to be utilized at that point. So these programming languages are F, F#, FoxPro, etc. But the oldest programming language in the article, but it is the most stable one, we could say, because at the time, in that point when technology was newly introduced, at that point, Fortran was something that was being used for compiling various programs and finding out the outcomes. Next is G. Now, Go language is like, it's the Golang language that we call, and it is developed by Google, of course. So it is a popular programming languages, and it is in one of the topmost languages which are being used and which can be pursued ahead in time because it has a wide range of scope. It is like utilized by, it utilizes humongous syntaxes. And yes, of course, it has a wide scope ahead in different use cases as it is the future, of course. And it is like somewhere or the other heavily influenced by Java. So yes, of course, this is like object-oriented kind of a language. So Go is one option that you all can think if you all are looking forward to enter into programming with some good kind of programming language. So Go is one option. Next is H. H is Haskell. Again, it was developed in 90s. So Haskell computer is an open source. Again, this is an open source language, but it was not that you could say widely used. Of course, there are some languages which are widely used like C, Python, Java, PHP and all, but Haskell and all, these are existing, but maybe the use cases are limited to the sources. Again, this was released under the BSD license, and it can write scripts into different languages, probably Indian languages. So Haskell is one other language, programming language that I came across while reading for H. Then we come to Icon, I. So Icon is like influenced with some old other language, that is Snubble, and the only programming language that will not affect a programming world. So this is not that influential, but yes, just to complete our A to Z, I came across this Icon language. So it is not that significant, but yes, it is existent into the programming ecosystem. Then we have the king, like Java. Java is also one well-known programming language like C, Python. Java is like a widely used programming language, and since 90s, 80s, and 90s, we many researchers, many developers have been using this language extensively. And Java. Probably you can run it on Eclipse or NetBeans or any other software. And of course, Java also has extensions like this JavaScript and different forms. So Java IDLE, environment setting, and variable components, etc. are many concepts. There we come across many concepts like encapsulation, polymorphism, and Java has like a huge wide scape because it has been used since decades. And of course, because of multiple use cases, Java was supposed to be one of the most preferred ones. But now Java has also, like you can call it, has become almost the past, because there are new languages just like Golang, Python, PHP, which have like taken up Java's position at this point. So, but Java is of course one of the fundamental languages that has like brought tremendous changes in the programming spectrum. So after Java, we come across Kotlin. So Kotlin is used in Android Studio. If you are familiar with Android Studio, you have Java and Kotlin to develop Android applications. So Kotlin was like started in 2011. Its development started across 2011. It is a recent language, but it runs over JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So of course, somewhere or the other, it is connected to Java. Kotlin, I had deployed a couple of applications using Kotlin. So that's how I was exposed to Kotlin. But it is a good language that you can of course learn and develop applications. L for Lisp. Now, Lisp is like, again, not that known to me at least, but you guys must have come across like electronics and the components. So these system languages for environment and all, like Lisp is one of the oldest surviving high-level programming language again. And it is like having different use cases, mostly in the field of hardware and electronics. So Lisp is another language that comes with L. And now we go to the next one. Now this is familiar again. So M is Matlab. Matlab is probably used for mathematics, and you could say the name itself says Matlab, that is mathematics laboratory. So there are, with M, we could come across Maple, Magma, Matlab, Maxima, and Mathematica. So the different programming languages, but Matlab is properly use of the machine languages, probably by which we could solve machine programs, instruction sets, and come up with meaningful solutions for Matlab. Then we go to N for nascent. Now, nascent is like, it is actually it is an acronym, and it has a full form that is Net-Wide Assembler. And it is dependent on Intel 86 architecture. And it is like Turing complete, hence it can be considered as a programming language. So it is a Net-Wide Assembler actually. It is not actually completely a programming language, but it is known as a Net-Wide Assembler, that is nascent. It is an acronym, of course, and you could see the full form just besides that. So before we move ahead, I would just like to walk you all through all the languages till N, as we have come to the mid. Yeah. So we covered A to N till this point. And again, to revise, A is for ADA, B is for basic, C is again for C, D is for Dart, E is for Erlang, F is for Fortran, G is for Go, H is for Haskell, I is for Icon, J is for Java, K is for Kotlin, L is for Lisp, M is for Matlab, and N is for nascent. Okay, so now after nascent, of course, the letter is O. So we'll go to Objective-C. Now this is one interesting language again, because it is like a well-known one. Again, it is you could say another open source language that is associated with C, C#, and C++. So of course, it has multiple runners up, and Objective-C is specifically for high-level use cases, which is probably in a focused direction that has like a specific outcome that is like expected to gain in the research part. Then we go for Python. Python, again, I know that this is very familiar language for you all, as Python language has now overcome many, you could say, hurdles, like, for example, the syntax, code writing, development stages and all, because Python is easy to code, and probably even non-technical people are now adapting Python to come up with technical solutions. And that is a very interesting thing about Python, that it is easily adaptable. People can learn it easily, and it is similar to our English grammar language. So You just need to know the logics. You have to form your flowcharts, and you can definitely learn Python. There are humongous resources available on the web by which you can learn Python. And Python, after Python, there is again Perl. With P, there are other languages also. So Perl is a general purpose dynamic language, which is used for text processing. And PHP is a general programming language used for web development. So if you are familiar with WordPress, Drupal, or Joomla, probably you must have come across WordPress. WordPress is PHP. So PHP is like, again, one very popular name that comes with Python, that comes with P, sorry. And yes, there are other languages also apart from Perl, Python, and PHP, which come from P, but these are the major ones that are listed and used on widely case. Yeah. So then we come across Microsoft's Q#. Q# is a language that was released by Microsoft for quantum algorithms. And it is the newest programming language. Of course, it was recently launched in December 2017. And Q# again has QScript and QBasic. So there are variations into the language. This is a new language again. When I came across this, I was interested to know, and I went to Microsoft documentation. So I found some good content about this. So that's about Q#. Then we go to R. Now, R is one language. If you are into probably mathematics and statistics, you would have come across this language, because this language is again one of the topmost ranked languages, which is for statistical computing, big data, data mining. Has this language into action, because this language particularly helps the data analysts, data scientists to come up with meaningful insights, to take informed decisions. And that is the reason R is one language that is like adapted widely by mathematicians, statisticians, and also technical people. So R language is, again, if you want to learn this, you can easily adapt this language. You can learn this language by utilizing the resources which are easily available across the web. Yes. Now, as Swift, if you are familiar with Apple programming, if you are like developing applications for iOS or iPhones, you would have come across this language for sure. That's Swift. So Swift is a multi-purpose language. Of course, it is used for developing Apple program. You can call it like an Apple programming language in short. So there is an Apache license again here, and Swift language has different types of syntax compared to the other languages, because it is developed on some other environment. And to use Swift, to code in Swift language, you of course need an iOS platform, or you could say iOS device, iPhone device, or you could probably say Mac, because you just cannot code it on some other device and take it to that. Of course, you can develop some applications using some cross-platform development platforms like Flutter and all, but it is better to code it on Mac or iPads or something like that, so that is on the same environment to test it out and run all beta testing and all. So Swift language is like, of course, the name is Swift, and it actually works very swift. So if you are good with Apple programming, or you could say you want to deploy some applications for Apple iOS stores, app stores, of course, you'll have to come across Swift. And again, for Swift, you have very, very good resources available, right from the documentation to books and all. And of course, you can search it across the web. You'll easily find the resources for the same. Then we come to T, TypeScript. TypeScript, again, is released under Apache license. It was developed by Microsoft, and it has like it's gaining popularity. One, again, good thing is like it is into the open source, this, you could say, arena. So of course, open source language again. So whatever languages we are discussing at this point are somewhere or the other linked with open source. So that is the reason we probably focused on this language special session, because I wanted to give you a glimpse that these many languages are existing. Apart from these many, there are many other languages, but probably these are some good heard names, and we can serialize those according to the alphabetical order. U for Rumpel, and this is it is again a very limited language. It does not have that much of scope. It was released in 2008, but its stable release is again in 2018. So it is not that utilized widely, but it is again for Unix shell and programmers who are developing it on open source operating system. For them, this is a good option, Rumpel. And again, we come to V. V is Verilog, and Verilog is a decent programming language. Probably it will follow Visual Basic, .NET, C++, Visual Fox Pro, and many other languages are somewhere or the other compatible with Verilog. And if you have heard about, like, say, instruction set programming, Verilog is one name that you must have come across. So Verilog is one programming language that is like used on some, you could say, development side, the backend side mostly, and it is not utilized on today's use cases mostly, but it was used in a couple of decades ago. Then we come to Wolfram language. Wolfram is another proprietary commercial language, and yes, it is again a good language. This is known language. It is used for research, and this is like a mathematics language again, because it computes symbolic computations, and many other simulations can be carried out using Wolfram. So you can test out different applications in mathematics and come up with different decent calculations using Wolfram language. And Wolfram is a multi-paradigm programming language again. So you can find this data on the web easily. Yeah. Then we come to X for TCL. I was looking for a logo for XOTCL, but I could not find that. But this is one logo which was constantly resonating, so I thought of adding it here. So you can check this out. This language is again not that known, but it is a network simulator language. And this is like command language, which is topology generation for NS2. So you probably should check this out, XOTCL, if you are like more into research and all. So this is a simulator language which you can come across and find out whatever you want to see. After X, it's Y. So Y is Yorick. Y is the promising letter. Yes, it is a Yorick language, and it is like a stable. It was its stable version was released 4 years ago, around 16-17. So it is a dynamic programming language, and it is interpreted, like it has an interpreter that goes line by line, and that's how Yorick works. So again, Yorick is new to me. So if you wanna research on Yorick, of course, the name is Yorick for Y, and you can just research it on the web, and you'll find it. It's different use cases according to the name. And Z is Zesh. Now, Zesh is like a Turing complete, qualifies as a programming language. It's a tool actually, which can be probably used, but latest major release were on Macish computers and Bash. So this language for Z is Zesh, and this actually is an X script. So if you come across some other names like Ruby, Perl, SQL, so these names probably we could not cover because we had only a pattern, but there are many other languages. So this particular diagram can show you how different languages like Scala, COBOL, FL, PHP again, then you come to Pascal, Forth, Julia, Fortran, Groovy. There are many languages, but there are, what I could conclude while I was researching for this particular topic of ours, that there are n number of programming languages that have multiple use cases, but we have at least tried to cover some important ones. So I would just walk you through that in a reverse order, then we'll come again so that it becomes familiar with you once again. So Z is for Zash, Y is for Yorick, and X is for XOTCL. Then W is for Wolfram, V is for Verilog. Then we come to U for Umple. Then we come to T for TypeScript. S is for Swift. R is for R language. Q is for Q Sharp. P is for Python. O is for Objective-C. N is for nascent. So I suppose we had come till this point. Now let's check on each of these languages. I'll just come from the top once again. So it gives a good picture for you all to like serialize it. Yeah. So this is the programming languages part again, programming language definition, what it was, we covered this. Then we came to this image. Probably if you want to have a screenshot of this particular image, you should definitely have this, because this was actually listed in an open source magazine when I came across it. It was long back, but of course, this is something that I found interesting and I wanted to share it with you all. So yes. And A is for ADA. Of course, we discussed about like the time-tested, safe and secure language. So A is for ADA. Then second is B for basic. That is like used for the full form is beginners all-purpose symbolic instruction code for basic. So this is how the interface looks. C is for like C programming. We have heard this name a lot of times into the programming arena, and of course it has different programming languages. With C we can come up with C++, C#, Clojure, COBOL, etc. But C was developed in 1972, and this is how the logo actually looks like. D is for Dart. Dart is heavily influenced with C++. So it was developed by Google, and it was released under the BSD license. Then we come across E. E is for Arlang. Arlang is an open source language again, which was developed by Ericsson and was licensed under Apache License 2.0. So it can write scripting programs. Arlang is the name for writing scripting programs. It is an open source language. F is for Fortran. This program, F can have names like F Sharp, Fox Pro, etc. but the oldest language is Fortran because it was used in 1990s, 2000s. So Fortran compilers, and it is an open source language. So you should, if you want to try your hands on this old programming language, you should definitely look for Fortran. And G is for Go. This is like a upcoming new age language, yes, of course, and it was developed by Google. So it is a popular programming language among programming communities. This is like one of the widely used programming languages. It comes in the top 10 languages for programming ahead in time. So it was like heavily influenced with Java, and Go language is easy to adapt. That's what I could say. Yeah. H is for Haskell. Haskell is a programming language. It was developed in 1990s, and the programming language is good for writing regional language scripts. Like probably you can write Hindi, Gujarati, Bengali scripts programs using this particular Haskell language. Next is I, is icon. This is not that significant language, but of course it was influenced by Snibble, and it is much older. So this is one of the, you could say it is not that influential language that will affect the programming world, of course. Then J, Java has, of course, influenced the programming world in a wider scale. And Java programming language has come up with different extensions like Java, IDE, probably there are JVM machines and all. So this Java and Kotlin, next is Kotlin. These two languages are used by programmers to code Android applications. Probably on Android Studio is one example where we use Java or Kotlin to probably write languages, write the code for applications, Android applications, and all. Kotlin was started in 2011. Java was started in 80s and 90s. Since then, Java and Kotlin are used hand in hand so that they can be resourceful in developing various Android applications. So this is about Kotlin. Next, we go to Lisp. Now, Lisp is something that is new to me. I'll be honest here. So if you probably have come across some electronic, you could say, applications, you could find Lisp, and whatever I could get out of Lisp was this, that it has different schemas, and you probably have lab view and also. You can have a look at Lisp. Then we have Matlab. Yes, this is a familiar name. So with M, we could have Maple, Magma, Matlab, Maxima, and Mathematica, but Matlab is probably used for machine languages, and it is one of the machine language that has been widely used since long ages, and it has different use cases according to the user interfaces and use case ability. N is for nascent. It is an acronym, and it is a net-wide assembler. It depends on the Intel x86 architecture, and it is like released under the BSD license. Then we come across O. O is for Objective-C. Objective-C is a programming language, probably for defined use cases where you have to move in some specific direction to get the designated outcomes. And another programming language is Octave, that comes with O. It has we have two runners for representing the O language. And we come across Python. So Python is a rich language. Of course, we know that it is similar to our English writing language. And it somewhere or the other follows the flow charts, algorithms, instruction sets, etc. That can be coded in a simple English grammatical language with some syntaxes and some formats that are to be followed easily. Then we come across Q. Q is what was developed by Microsoft. It was released in 2017, and it is a quantum programming language. So if you are more towards quantum study and you're researching into quantum side, you can definitely look out for Q#. R is for R again. R, the name itself says that it is probably one of those topmost 10 rank. It is one of the top ranked languages which is used by mathematicians, statisticians to give out different statistical insights by utilizing this language. And this language is a multi-paradigm language, which is like a very good language that can be easily adapted by even non-technical people, probably the mathematicians and developers who are on the non-tech side, but they want to come up with insights for data analysis, data scientists and all. And big data people like data crunchers and all also, they would be benefited using R. So R is the language for data people. And S is Swift. If you are a developer who is inclined more towards Apple products or probably iOS, so yes, Swift is a language, of course, because without Swift, you cannot actually deploy applications for iOS platforms. And for that, the primary prerequisite is that you need to have a iOS supported device, or else you can use some development platforms which are like Flutter and all. But again, to test it, you will of course need an iOS platform. Simple. It's that simple. So it is released under Apache license. It is an open source programming language. You can consider it like that. And again, with S, we have Scilab, which is a numerical computational language. With SQL, we have, again, with S, we have SQL, structured query language, which is used for relational database management. And Stimula, Smalltalk, etc. are also some languages which come with the name S. So SQL is one language which I think have not covered that much. So SQL is the database language, as we know. It has relational databases, shared databases, and many other kinds of databases which are like, it is this name itself says like it is a structured query language. So in case if you want to try your hands on some databases, of course, SQL is the answer for that. T is TypeScript. So with TypeScript, it was developed under the Apache license again. It was developed by Microsoft. And TCL, tool command language, is an interpreted language, which also comes under T. So these are some names that come under TypeScript, T. U is for Rumple, and Rumple is like existent since 2008. Most recent version was released in 2017, but it is again not that efficient or that influential language. Of course, it exists, but it is very limited to its use cases. So Rumple is one other language with U. V is Verilog. This is a language which has been used into various platforms and environments. So Verilog is one name that you will come across if you enter into some kind of chip programming and simulation programming. W is Wolfram Language. Wolfram is a proprietary language, and of course, it is again used by statisticians and mathematicians. So we remember that it was R and his Wolfram that are like mostly used by mathematicians and statisticians to come up with meaningful insights for informed decisions. X is for XOTCL. Again, this is a language which is not that openly available. Probably this is like a network simulator language. I could only find this much of information for this particular language, but if you want to try your hands into this research, particularly for XOTCL, of course, you can come across XOTCL for X language. Then it's Yorick. Yorick is like a dynamic programming language, and it was also like released 4 years ago. It was released probably in 16-17 was the last year where probably they released the most stable one. So Yorick is another language. And with Z, we have Zesh. So Zesh is a Turing complete language that probably works in the Unix shell. So if you are more towards using some open source platform operating system, so of course, Zesh is something that you'll come across. So we want to have, I would recommend you all to probably have a look at this last paragraph, because this is very insightful paragraph. To my knowledge, the programming language BCD and many old and obscure, which have no practical use actually. So there are careful with the names like C is for C, J is for Java, M is for Matlab, P is for Python, R is for Ruby, you can call it, or R language, of course, and S is for Swift are the most important programming languages, and they are named after animals. So P is for pig, Python, and Cobra. J, places is for Java, famous people is for Ada, Babbage. You can see the names. So this is one interesting fact that I came across, that yes, these languages are named after people, animals, places. So that's one interesting thing. And there are multi-limited options when it comes to building a career. So if you are a programmer, if you wish to probably be a developer into some specific language, so this is the you could say some part of the spectrum that I could showcase to you all today in this session. There are different languages. That's what I could conclude. When I started with this research, I was like, yes, I have 26 languages. I just had to focus on them. But when I started deep diving into more of these concepts, it was like, oh my God, there are many languages. So whatever languages I felt like we should definitely cover in this session for just like an overview or an introductory session under the open source category, I have merged them all into this particular session. And there are n number of programming languages. That's what I have concluded. They have multiple use cases. Some are even used, like I gave you an example of Flutter. So Flutter is used for Android development, also for iOS development. So some languages are probably used for open source development. Some are probably having some kind of pricing plans, and you have to cater to those. If you are a web developer, you would have come across WordPress, Joomla, Drupal. Again, Drupal will have SQL. So there are some intersection points where some languages are to be used with some other language. And in order to have any server, you would have come across a XAMPP or a WAMP server. So when you have that server, you'll have to use PHP to probably display your outcomes on the web. So it's a big spectrum. Today, we try to just focus on the names, how they are like today, used in today's fraternity, today's world. And I hope that you all learned something this time too, because this whole session was primarily focusing on the different languages which are available for, even if you are a non-programmer, even if you are like interested in programming, but you had no base, this is a starter beginner session that will give you a glimpse like how different languages are used in different use cases. And I had some references. So I referred to some IEEE papers, research papers. There was an open source magazine, I of course mentioned you that, and programming reference books. So I referred some Balagriswamy, and for Java also we had some books. So all those notes, and Wikipedia is one thing that, of course, provided with me all the logos and all. So I would like to give you all these references. These are citations that probably I used for this particular presentation of ours. And Delta the Innovators, again, is my organization under which we are probably focusing on innovation and education and technology. And we believe in simplifying things. So that's the reason it says Delta the Innovators, let's make it all simple. Again, I would like to thank the tech platform where tech meets, and Sophia, Manpreet, and the whole team of tech platform to give me this opportunity to share this interesting part of my, you could say, journey, research journey. And with this, I would like to request Sophia to kindly take over.
Hi, Shubham.
Hi, Sophia.
Yeah, it was a great session, and I literally enjoyed everything because there were many languages which I don't know, but there were languages which everyone knows. But there were some languages which I don't think so. People have something. There is no word like that. I thought it is a something different thing. Why I haven't learned that. I was just doing. Now I think I will learn. So I hope that people who are watching this will learn, that they will actually there are many videos which they don't, you can say they just use Java, C++, that normal languages which everyone knows. So the session which you had, there were so many languages that I think people have learned, that I think now they will learn that about that thing, that languages, this is used for this is used for that. So it was a great, wonderful session, and this was a proper learning session on the languages. So I hope people have learned, and if you guys want to go further for those languages, or there are some languages which you have any doubts, or there are some articles that which you don't know about that thing, right? So you guys can ask us, or you can ask Mr. Shubham Dumbre, and we both are there to help you out. And in our website, there are articles also which describe those languages. So on that articles or that post, if you guys have any doubt, any other article which you want us that to explain, then also we are there to help you out for that. So I think that guys, just subscribe us at www.thetechplatform.com, and where you will get the articles, the blogs, and the updates for the upcoming sessions with the Shubham Dumbre and all the other experts. So,
thank you, Sophia.
Would you like to add something at the end?
Yes, I would just like to give them a glimpse of our tech platform. So I would just like to share my screen once again. Can you please allow that? Yeah,
just share.
Yeah, so this is the tech platform which Sophia just mentioned, and it is like full of technical things. So you have Talks Academy, under which we are conducting this session. And here you will find different sessions by various experts, and whatever new sessions are coming up are all noted here. If you want to know about what tech platform actually aims to do, you can come here and you can read this all. So we, in response to COVID, we also had many different initiatives that we took up to raise funds and help the needy. We have blogs and articles, as Sophia mentioned. So on different topics, we have these blogs, and you can definitely read all this content free of cost, of course. And the idea with this is to probably ignite the spark among the tech community. And here you'll find all those sessions which we had, and there are many of those, because Sophia and the whole team has been working at the back end regularly to come up with these interesting sessions, to match up the timings with these experts and give up something good to the community. We had a global AI bootcamp on January 16th, and there are different events which are again noted here. Then there are some services also. You can go through this page so that you can find us. And in case you want to contact us for any project, or you want to learn something new, of course, we have this contact page. So this is how you can come to the tech platform and get in touch, learn about technical things. Even if you're a non-tech person, of course, this is a good one-stop solution for you to understand how technology meets the world. And before I conclude, this is my LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn, you can just search for Shubham Dumbre and you'll find this. So tech platform has given me the, you could say, a wider spectrum under which I have been conducting different sessions, workshops, and programs. So I really would like to take this opportunity to thank the tech platform for giving me this opportunity, and Sophia especially for giving me this opportunity. I just gave you a message yesterday that yes, can we do it on 31st, and you were ready. So thank you very much for that.
It was a great pleasure, and you just shared our website. I just thank you everyone that you explained for us, because there are many people thought that it's a normal one, because articles right now everyone posts the articles, but there was something different articles also where that is a meaningful articles which you actually do in your real life. So people face those problems. We just post those articles which actually people face, and which actually they have problems in those things, the programming languages. It can be a graphics, and also it's a, you can say, the news which is upcoming on the different languages or different, you can say there is a new laptop, what is the features of that new laptops, what is upcoming new things. We post everything. So if you guys have any doubt, anything you want us to publish, that also we are ready to help you out. And this is the academy in which you people are also welcomed. If you want to share your experience, or you think that you have something unique in you which you can explain to other people so that they can learn something from you, we are most welcome. So I think we should end this session, and I hope just like, share, and subscribe us, and please share this video so that if the other people also get the opportunity to learn something from the experts, something new every day. So
sure.
Okay. Bye bye. Goodbye.
Bye, Sophia. Thank you.